Hi folks, and thanks for joining me, and welcome to the first in my trilogy of lockdown spins. What's a lockdown spin? Well, here in Ireland we're currently not allowed to go further than 5k from where we live. I've often thought, yes, I know, you too. I've often thought, what's the point in going out on the bike if I can't go further than 5k? Well, actually, there's a load of point, because motorcycling to me is all about escapism, freedom, that sense of adventure, and of course just clearing the head, getting rid of those cobwebs and those COVID blues. So if you fancy joining me, hop on the back. I'm going off to wrap it on about nothing in particular, and we're going off to see even less in particular. But if that appeals to you, then let's go. And here's our chief of security. Good girl. Beauty, aren't you? And we're off. I really don't like bringing this Royal Enfield out when the roads are so wet, but sometimes you just gotta do it. It also gives me oh, look at this. I hate driving this beautiful bike through dirty puddles. This is the driveway of where I live, and we live in the countryside, in case you haven't been able to tell already. So there's tractors and whatever else coming up and down the driveway as well, but sure, it gives me a great excuse to clean the bike this afternoon. I really do. I love cleaning the bikes. I get as much enjoyment out of cleaning them and getting them all nice and shiny in showroom condition as I do actually riding them. Well, maybe it's not, but I think it goes back to when I was a kid and polishing me bicycle in mum and dad's garage. You know, I used to spend hours polishing it. I don't know if any of you did this as well, I used to tape cardboard to the back axle on my bicycle so that when you would be cycling it, it would flick against the spokes and make a raspy motorbike sound. So I was fascinated with motorbikes even back then. This is the lake where we live. Rumour has it there's a 20-pound pike in that lake, and I'm not just saying this, but I think I've actually seen it. Years ago we were fishing on it, caught a roach, lifting the roach out of the water, and the pike came up out of the water and grabbed the roach. I'm actually going to pull in here. I know we're not even at the end of the road, but I want to tell you something about this beautiful little cottage, which seems quite apt when I'm on this Royal Enfield. So, fantastic autumn day, and nobody needs an excuse to be out. Just get out there on two wheels and enjoy it. Now, the reason I've stopped in front of this cottage is that back in the 1960s, this was the local grocery store for miles around. And I often think when I'm driving past it about the horse and carts coming from miles around to get their local produce. And quite apt really, because the bike, the Royal Enfield Continental GT, is obviously modelled on a 1960s style cafe racer, and I wonder how many of them passed this grocery store back in the 60s. I suspect not that many. We live in a very agricultural part of the world here, so I'd say it was all horse and carts causing the traffic jams outside of this 1960s version of Marks and Spencer's. That's one thing to tell you about the bike. Oh, actually, I've just adjusted the mirrors. Don't like the angle they're set at. I had the mirrors off recently because I put on these, I think they're called grip puppies. The handlebars, or the grips rather, were very narrow. So I bought these grip puppies on Amazon for about 15 quid or something. Actually, this is my first time out with them. I've just realised, but they feel like I have a much better grip. Feel like I have a much better grip of the bike. I don't have heated grips on this bike, so I'm not so sure if you put them on a bike with heated grips if the heat will come through. I think it claims the heat still does come through these things, but they were very easy to fit just slid them on with a bit of soapy water, and yeah, they really do feel nice actually. One thing about this bike is that the throttle, you can nearly do a 360-degree rotation with the throttle. I've seen another vlogger in England, I forget his name actually, but he did some sort of electronic gadgetry to his to make it only sort of short twist for the full throttle range. I must look into that. Well, I'm saying that I probably won't, because I don't use this bike to go very far afield. I use this bike for tootling around the country lanes like this. Oh, the puddles and the wet roads, so it's just sacrilege to get the bike covered in stuff. But you know what, especially here in Ireland, if we waited for clear blue skies with no crap on the roads, we'd be waiting a long time. It rains a lot here in Ireland, which is why there are, in this part of the world anyway, which is County Cavan, there are 365 lakes, and that's not one there, that's just a huge puddle. But 365 lakes, one for every day of the year. I've often thought about doing like a coffee table book. I'm mad into my photography and filming, and actually what we're doing now is we're approaching the busiest junction around in this area, and at rush hour, here we go, look at this crossroads. At rush hour there's at least one car, and here it is. Thank you, sir, very kind. There's another lake down there. Very strong light today. Yeah, these roads are great in the summer. You know, there's very rarely any traffic on them, and when the sun's not so low, you can really rip around on two wheels. It's a beautiful place to ride a motorbike. I said in a previous video as well, Ireland is still fairly untapped in terms of motorcycling. You know, there's so many incredible places to see, so many beautiful country roads, and not that busy. Can't wait to do the Wild Atlantic Way next year. I love living in Ireland. The scenery's fantastic, the people are even better. It's just such an amazing country. There's nothing quite like an Irish pub as well. The crack is mighty. I heard something years ago when I first moved over. A friend of mine told me it, and it goes like this: "Oh mother dear, I'm over here, I won't be coming back. What keeps me here are the pints of beer, the woman and the crack." And pretty much sums up my whole experience here. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So the other thing I'm noticing on the bike is, even though I've only done 311 miles, she's not quite broken in yet. I think the instruction book says 500 mile to break her in. But one thing I've noticed, and every time I come out on this beauty, is that the exhaust note sounds even throatier and raspier, and it's just getting a better tone about it every time I come out. It's just wonderful to be out. Full stop. I've just closed the visor on the helmet. That's one thing you don't have any protection about on this bike, is a windscreen or a fairing to keep the wind off you. So the wind is blasting in, well it was anyway. I don't know if it's made any difference to the sound. That was a good old bump. This is real, raw, basic motorcycle riding. I love it. Some great old buildings just dotted around the countryside around here. I often think, you know, about the old days when the old buildings were frequented and inhabited, and indeed the house that I live in, actually where my bedroom is was an old hay barn, and it used to be the place for a hoolie on a Saturday night. If you don't know what a hoolie is, it's a shindig. All these words basically just mean a party, and they used to come from miles around. apparently, to party in what is now my bedroom. Can't say I've seen any ghosts. That field there is belongs to a friend of mine, and my other hobby is paramotoring, and I regularly use that field to land and take off from, because it's on a bit of a hill, so it's easier to take off. So I'm well used to flying around these parts, making a noise in the air. It sounds like a lawnmower in the air, the paramotor. So if I'm not in the air making a noise, I'm on the road on two wheels making a noise. The neighbours probably think I'm just a bloody big nuisance, actually. It's a very quiet part of the world. It's County Cavan, a gorgeous part of the world, as you can see from the scenery. We always take for granted what we have on our doorsteps. I lived near the sea once, and I think that in the whole time I lived there, which was about 3 years, I must have went for a walk half a dozen times on the beach. And similar to where I live now with all the lakes, I think, and I used to be a very keen fisherman when I lived in England, and I think I've fished the lakes over here, again, maybe half a dozen times in the 17 years I've lived here. Hey ho. Oh, this is just heaven. Just realised I didn't check how much petrol I have, but I have a full tank, so that's alright. Even though I'm not going far, I wouldn't like to run out on these roads. It's still a far enough walk back pushing a bike. Actually, this is a nice little place to pull into. This is Castle Lake. Very slippy, the roads, with all the autumn leaves, so that's why I'm taking it handy. In case any of you are wondering when I'm going to open the bike up, I won't be. This is a great spot to come, whether it be for a walk or... Indeed, my wife is into the horse riding. She comes here on 4 legs, and it's called Castle Lake, obviously, because at one stage there was a castle habited by monks. The remains of it are still here. It's a great place to come with a kayak as well, but I often fly over here in the paramotor, and this is one of the landmarks I know. I'm very close to landing at home when I fly over the top of here. Everything is line of sight in a paramotor. There's no instrument landing system in one of them, so I go by landmarks and waypoints, and it's always a pleasant relief if I've been caught up in turbulence when I'm in the paramotor and I get to this stage and know that I'm nearly home. In the paramotor I'm about 3 minutes away from home. I always think when you're walking around the bike talking away to yourself, people think you're mad, but sure, maybe we all are. Now what about that for a photograph? Isn't that gorgeous? The bike makes it, of course, nothing to do with the scenery. The more I get out on this bike, the more I love it. Oh, the reason I bought this was just, it reminded me so much of when I was a kid. My father had a BSA Gold Star bike, and I remember I'd get he didn't have it for very long, and I remember I used to rush out of bed every morning just so I could go downstairs and sit on it in the garage, and it was chrome like this, and I think as soon as I saw this online, I just thought, oh, I've got to have this. Take me back to my childhood memories again. I love it so much. I put the vintage looking number plate on this just to add to the looks of it. I haven't been stopped by the cops yet over here, but hopefully they'll look at me leniently. I'm not exactly a hellraiser on one of these. Actually, I've just realised the whole walkway there is flooded. I wouldn't be fishing off the end of that, not unless you're wearing waders. I read recently you're not allowed to feed ducks bread anymore. What's becoming of the world? Poor things. Oh, look at the way the sun is hitting off this baby. She's all ACF 50'd up. I did that a couple of weeks ago, which I was rather hoping would last for the winter anyway. I'm filming this on November the... what's the date? November the 13th, I think. And they say you're allowed to get a couple of washes out of the bike without having to reapply the ACF 50. I personally, after 3 washes of the bike, I apply the ACF 50 again on any bike, but probably more so on this because of all the chrome. I actually have the tank waxed, and I don't know if you can see on the GoPro, but there's a few little, not blemishes, sort of, they're actually condensation spots where the cover in the shed gathers condensation underneath. I'm going to have to come up with a better way of doing that. I've often thought maybe the cover causes more damage than not having one on, because the air can't circulate underneath it. I should look into that and report back to you. Anyway, oh, hello doggy, you're gorgeous. Hello son. Hello, how are you? Come to check out the motorbike. You're a big boy. You're a big boy, wow. Okay, so back on the bike and back on the magical mystery tour. Lovely day for a walk as well. Actually, the trees I've just noticed are nearly bare now. I'd say winter's around the corner. That's another thing I've never done, is to put the bikes away for winter, because I definitely have a bit of that seasonal adjustment disorder, SAD as it's nicknamed, all linked with depression and whatever else. Because I have a tinge of that, I never like to lock the bikes away. I always like to think that every week there's hope of getting out on the motorbike. It really is my biggest sense of escapism. The flying, which I've mentioned, is almost as rare as being able to go up in a hot air balloon. The weather conditions have to be absolutely bang on to go up in a paramotor. So I maybe get 10 days a year where I can, certainly live in an island anyway, where I can actually get up in the paramotor. I had a long break with motorcycles. I've mentioned in previous videos about my history of motorcycles, and that I had a crash when I was in my early 20s. And I sort of packed in the motorcycle, and then I lost the bottle, and it was only fairly recently I got back into it. And I bought a cruiser, a Yamaha Dragstar 650. It was a great bike, and served the purpose as well, because it really did get me back into bikes. But then, as you've seen, if you're a subscriber to my channel, is that a fox? No, it's not. It's just a foxy looking coloured dog. So yeah, if you're a subscriber to my channel, you'll have seen my love affair with my FJR 1300. And of course, more recently, the BMW R1200 GS has just joined the brigade. So I have great things planned for next year when the lockdown is over. I certainly won't be sticking to the 5 kilometre limit then. More like a 5-week away limit. Let's hope the wife isn't watching this. And my joke for the day is Bono and The Edge, from the famous band, walk into a pub in Dublin. The barman looks up and says, "Ah, not you two again." Tickled me, that one. And what a lovely way to end this lockdown spin out, on a high. That's as good as it gets, folks. Only kidding. I'll try and come up with a better joke for the next one, alright? So be sure to subscribe and follow me if you haven't done already. I appreciate all the support so far. The subscriber numbers are growing more than I could have ever wished for. I think at the time of recording this video I'm on 610 subscribers, and I only started this channel a few months ago, so I am so grateful for the encouragement and the support. Even tuning in on videos without purpose like this one, just a bit of a ride around and a bit of crack. Do you know what? It means the world to me, and I hope you take something from it too. Sorry about the bad joke. Until next time, folks, I'm Dave Perry for Wheelie Good TV. Over and out.